We're live. It's Sam and Richard. It is the AutoGraders, BetaSaaSers meeting, and or the Sam and Richard show, as it's also called. Let's just pop up. Yeah, we've got the little teleprompter there. My main agenda item is I've got some input from Armando on the plans for the fall, which I assume that you'll probably be interested in. Richard, anything on your agenda or anything that you'd like to add?
Sure, no, I think it's just that stuff, because one of the things that I realize is happening now as students are doing the homeworks and trying to search Google for suggestions and information on how to do things, they're getting information on newer versions of the tools. And that's an additional confusing element.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that ties right into what your topic is.
Yeah, well, I just emailed Armando yesterday with the questions that we had for him. I mean, basically, he said, well, he's saying that he's considering a flipped classroom style for the fall, which implies that they are teaching in Berkeley in the fall. But he's saying that the Spock in the fall would be the same videos as has been used before. He's saying some of them may be updated or added.
Sure.
But as we said, the focus is on revamping the homeworks. So at the minimum, move everything to Rails 4 and Ruby 2, clean up some solutions, scaffolding the various homeworks, add new heavily scaffolded Sinatra homework, likely create new RSpec homework to replace current, and likely create a JS Jasmine homework, is what he's saying. He's also saying the new homework feature will be that the scaffolded ones can take advantage of either peer grading or self-grading for the non-coding parts. And he says he's going to plan to send out something in the next week asking for feedback from the group. So I think we'll be hearing more from him on that. He's also mentioning that the edX has got some sort of custom course feature, which may allow some sort of automation of the generation of the Spocks. Although, yeah, I mean, we will see. And then also he said they're looking into GitHub-based autograding, like with CI, as I've been suggesting. So that's nice to hear him considering that. Although I think he's saying what do you do with the AutoGraders result data? I mean, I think that the trick would be to sort of link that into edX, so that the result is sort of pushed into edX, so that you get kind of a single place overview of what's going on. But I think that would ultimately solve our issue of not being able to see the student's code, because all of the student code would be visible on GitHub, and you could easily track it and view it and so on. And there we go.
That all sounds interesting, mostly good.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is just a question of sort of how much information comes and when, as how we can adopt this. And and my issue, right? I'm one of the early ones, so
right.
As they go to the last minute, because it's hard to do a hybrid. It's hard to take pieces from one and then another. Especially when they're changing versions. Okay, so that kind of feedback. How does Armando get this feedback? I mean, or is he planning, or he probably is planning to send a message to the BetaSaaSers?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. I imagine. I think his semester is wrapping up, same as yours. So I think within a week or two, you'll probably hear from him. Yeah, I mean, and I think as we were discussing last week, I mean, I'm going to be focusing in the first 2 weeks of August on this, so you'll get some updates for there. It'll depend on their general schedule. Obviously, if we can have things available earlier, then that makes your life much easier.
Right. And I have flexibility. I mean, I don't actually use my homeworks, the first day of the class, right? So as long as we know sort of a semi-predictable schedule.
Right, and the videos are going to not be significantly changed, so it's
right, and that. Although, yeah, there may have to be. I mean, it'll be interesting because scattered throughout there may be like small things that don't matter. But anyway, not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that we need to catch up on?
The only other thing is in the first week of June, I'm going to be taking like, I don't know, course, a seminar, whatever that is involved in dealing with online stuff. It's basically the whole North Carolina university system, of which there are 17 major schools. There, you know, they pick some people from each school and they're getting them together. I met with the guy just for lunch last week, and he talked about using an open edX platform.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So how familiar are you with that? Because I was like, at first I thought he was talking about the Edge thing that we're doing, and it's like,
no.
It
Well, I mean,
like
I'm as familiar with that as, you know, basically the entire edX software is open source, and you can roll your own edX instance if you want, and you can maintain it. But it's Python Django. I mean, I've run edX things on my. I mean, I sort of checked it out when it first came out, and I just kind of haven't been particularly interested in getting into that stack. I mean, it's sort of, yeah. If it was in Ruby on Rails, I'd have probably, you know, more time for it. Yeah, people do roll their own, you know, instances of to get the edX features outside of edX.
Okay, but you're talking about working on it from sort of a technical development point of view, and it sounds
no. I'm talking about. I mean, you can just get it to run your stuff and deploy it. You don't have to be developing on it. I mean, it's open source, and I mean, like if we look at, you know, you can kind of check out the stuff for development, but you can also check out the thing and use it as just kind of a user, right? So like they've got a mechanism for installing, you know, the whole what have you, and kind of like basically and then running it. But I mean, you'll need some sort of hosting and this, that, and the other. I mean, but in principle, you know, if you have this set up, you can then take the course from, you know, we could in principle take the course from Armando and like load that XML up into the system, you know, an open edX instance, and then run it there. And one would, you know, I mean, I'm not sure that what the advantages of this for us having access to the edX Edge. Right. We basically get free hosting from edX.
Exactly. That's what but he seemed to think that, well, he seemed to be saying there was like a large, which I just haven't been following it, that there was a large user community.
Yeah, I think there are lots of people doing that. That's, yeah. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that yeah. And it's kind of, you know, it's got a certain level of traction. But again, it wouldn't have any more functionality than the main system. Although in principle, you could be developing it and you could then choose when to like if you got together with some people and made a new feature, you could get it deployed within your system on your own timescale. Whereas you know, any kind of fix or whatever that's going to come through to the edX platform is entirely in edX's hands about when they choose to deploy and, you know, what they choose to prioritize in terms of fixing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I guess my doing this thing in early June will introduce me to some things that I haven't been keeping track of like that. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's I mean, one of the things we've considered here at Makers is, you know, using edX as a delivery platform for our materials, but I think to be honest, the lack of versioning in the edX framework means that I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, I've been too traumatized by trying to maintain various versions of materials across edX systems.
Yeah,
to want to use it any more than I have to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything? But yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you find out in that course.
Yeah, and that for sure. And the only other thing is, I guess there's nothing much to say. If they're still doing their semester in Berkeley, there's, you know, just to, you know, just to state the obvious to Armando, to those guys, is just sort of letting, you know, having a dialogue about plans.
Yep.
But yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, and feel free to preempt, you know, in terms of posting to the list and saying, hey, Armando, our semester just finished up. This is, you know, these are the main takeaways, and you know, we're getting into that phase where I think he's more likely to respond because his own semester will, and you know, there's maybe room for a chat to kick off amongst the BetaSaaSers people. I think, you know, various people's time will be freeing up, and so
that's good. I mean, I'm actually still 2 weeks away from the real end. This is like a little bit of the eye of the hurricane, where there's a little bit of a respite between then we get to the final stuff. But that's all good. Okay.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, it looked like Rose for some reason couldn't. Richard joined me. Looks like Rose was trying to get in, but Firefox has been redirecting her. Chrome over Firefox. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I will post her the video of the our live stream.
The executive report.
Yep. Yes, I mean, I should probably. It's a shame if we missed Rose, but yeah, unless we have anything else urgent to work out, we'll maybe call it. You know, for wraps there. Maybe next week we'll have more input from Armando and or yourself.
Okay. I mean, I'll just say here's one sentence, and we can end it here. Is one of the reasons I mentioned Open edX. Are there any other because part of the issue that I'm looking at for other reasons is hosting platforms.
Yeah.
Which obviously the Open edX doesn't have. Is there anything just in a sentence that comes to mind, or
about hosting platforms where you would be able to
someone hosting video? I mean, there's you put stuff on YouTube, up on Vimeo, and there's other like sort of stuff whose names escape me, that people who are looking to just sort of create courses and post them online.
Oh, I see. Like what one uses to just host content generally.
Yeah.
In that, I mean, well, of course, what we use is we use GitHub to host lots of content.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you know, and YouTube. I mean, there's the Vimeo. But you're talking about in like course.
Well, sort of like someone who wants to do like a little like a class, like has a bunch of lectures and wants people to be able to view them. And I can do the. I'll do the normal search, and I have done that. I was just thinking, you know, just because we're here.
I mean, there are various ones that I now can't remember the names of them because I've sort of stopped paying attention to them. But I mean, there's a couple of like groups that
don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was particularly trying to remember. There was one that, I mean, there are various ones that you can sort of like host stuff, and then you can like charge students for access.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's all. And I was just wondering, just in case there was one that you had, you know, sometimes just a recommendation like that.
Yeah,
but it sounds like you're in the same boat as that. And you're not.
Well, and to be honest, I think I prefer being slightly closer to the metal, in that I'd rather use YouTube and GitHub because, you know, just you know, like I don't want to invest in somebody else's system that might go away fairly soon, and I think I feel more reassured about the longevity of YouTube and GitHub than I do about any of the other systems. I mean, I guess edX is great in that it's open source. It's just it's just that you know, as a computer science person, you just have to be you have to be using GitHub all the time anyway. So it's kind of, you know, it's like I'm disincentivized to learn anything else. And I guess it would be great if GitHub is open source. It's not, but they just seem to be doing so like the right thing. It feels right. Although we were talking about this in terms of using Google Hangouts for you know, our own systems here. I mean, we are very dependent on GitHub and on Google for these things. I mean, with GitHub and with Google, we pay them for the enterprise support. I mean, it's all sort of a risk analysis, isn't it, about when these things might change and people are, you know, these big organizations decide, oh well, no, we don't want that anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was like one little thing that I thought of asking, and we can wrap up.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. Nice one. All right. Well, maybe talk to you next week, and maybe we'll catch up with Rose in the chat, see how she's doing. Yeah. Oh,
okay.
And then, does anyone have any suggestion about sending and receiving JSON objects in Rails? I think the answer is like just require JSON. It's like what is this, like JSON Rails? JSON using render. Yeah, I think you can just render. What's there about JSON in there? JSON using render. Rendering JSON. So it's rendering 2.2.9. It's rendering JSON. Okay. Anyway, yeah, well, we'll move this over to Slack, and catch you next week. Bye for now, Richard.
Okay, bye. Thanks.